What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title, today is going to be a little bit more serious. And I don't want to make it like all doom and gloom, but this video is just more it's not about woe is me, it's more about just acknowledging and holding accountability. So one of the reasons I even decided to do this video is because, for one, I had recently, did an interview, or had the privilege to do an interview with, Men's Health. And the topic was about, microaggressions in racisms and microaggressions in the workplace and everyday life, rather. And I had discussed my experience with a job I had worked at, and also the college that I had attended and graduated from. For those of you who don't know, I went to Columbia College of Chicago from the 2007, graduated in 2012. Now, I want to make this very clear before I get further into the video. This is no way am I bashing Columbia, and no way am I saying Columbia College itself is a racist school, because it is not. And I also want to make this clear before I get into the video also as well. For the most part, my experience at Columbia College was a great experience. As far as I have met some great people who I am still friends with to this day. I learned a lot. I had some great some great instructors, some not so great, and it was just a fun school. Like, it was just great to be around people that were like me, who were into the arts and who were just like eccentric and just, if you went to Columbia, and I enjoyed it 80% of the experience that I had. And I also want to make it clear that not everything that I'm going to talk about was because of Columbia, but Columbia College, the experience I had that had a major impact on me in a lot of ways. I didn't realize that until I did this interview, because sometimes I feel like we may go through life and we are like kind of in this kind of like loop, and we don't know why we're in this loop, and we're like in this transitional period where we're stuck. And I didn't know that until I did this interview and I talked about it. And sometimes when you speak things out loud, it's not therapy, but it's therapeutic, and the dots can connect. And sometimes when you're like in this weird place, you can kind of find your way back when you just like speak about it. And that's what this interview was. So that's why I'm doing this interview. Or doing this video. You know what I mean. So let's get to it. I could have been a better student at Columbia. As far as my grades and studying and the effort I put in, I could have been a better student. Wasn't a terrible student, wasn't a bad student, but I could have been a better student in that regard. And that had a lot to do with still from elementary school, middle school and high school, mainly high school, where I was in a place where I didn't fit in, where, people didn't like me or for whatever reason, and said things about me, and vice versa. I didn't like them. So, but my experience in high school was just traumatic, where it was just like going there every single day was like going somewhere where it felt like a piece of you was just taken away every single day. Like every day, a part of you was just snatched and you were just being suffocated. And I didn't put any effort in high school. So because of that, I was just like not a good student. I was definitely not a good student. But I had to become a better student to graduate, or otherwise I wouldn't have graduated. So because of that, those traits, those habits kind of carried over. But then once I got to college, I was finally around my kind of like group. I was finally around my people that I kind of related to, and that was great. You know, I was like, okay, I'm finally here. Um, but this is where it changes. This is not where the racism comes in. For anyone who went to film school knows that you hear this a lot. You don't necessarily have to go to film to study film, but hey, we did it. Film school can be very elitist, and I didn't know that. Like, I've always wanted to make movies. I always wanted to direct. I always wanted to write. But I didn't know how at that time. But I knew that's what I wanted to do. This poster, if you've seen my videos, you've been like, why do he has a Hellraiser poster? This poster, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, Batman. Those were the films that inspired me as a kid. When I saw those films, I wanted to do that. I wanted to make something like that. Not necessarily horror films, but those themes, those tones, I always wanted to incorporate that into something. And that was my kind of like my style that I wanted to build on. So going to film school, and then you get to certain classes and they ask you, what is your favorite film? And they ask the entire class that. And then they ask you what your favorite film is. And I don't have a favorite film, but I have favorite films. I have more than one. And I end up saying Hellraiser. Okay, so when you're in a classroom full of people who saying Casablanca, or it's a Scorsese film, or it's a Coppola film, or it's a Tarantino film, all those people are revered and they're praised. I wasn't watching that. I was watching horror films. Though that is what inspired me. But in film school, that is looked down upon. So that was the beginning for me. And what I don't like about film school is that it pushes these students or these kids to kind of like adopt this kind of like this one-sided mentality of what they feel is what a filmmaker should be. And then with that, you end up kind of losing yourself, in my opinion, because that's definitely was my experience. I lost myself trying to become this person that really wasn't who I am. Now, mind you, once I got to the college, I end up learning, and I love those filmmakers. I love them now, but that wasn't who I was. Like, I wasn't that. And then instead of them trying to like kind of build up on my style and improve it and improve other people's way of how they envision themselves, they tried to convert us to something that we really didn't relate to. And that was the first thing. Now when it gets to the racism, and I want to make this clear, everything I said before right now at this moment has nothing to do with racism. That just has to do with what led to this video and what people in film school sometimes experience. Now, this is where the racism starts. Being in film school, most of the time, if not all the time, I was maybe, if not the only or part of a few people of color, mainly Black. And a lot of times, things are said that shouldn't have been said, mainly from students, and then sometimes from instructors, professors. I remember one time that it was a certain classroom. I'm not going to say the instructor. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say their gender. But I was in this classroom, and there was another black guy there. It was me and him. Oftentimes, me and him had this discussion later on, but I felt like we were pitted against each other. And there was no real reason for us to be pitted against each other or compared, because both our styles are two totally different styles. We were two totally different filmmakers. But for whatever reason, every time it came to a point where it was discussions of one of us, then the other one gets compared. Or our films would be compared. And the only thing that was about us that were alike was our skin colors. And I remember one time it had got so bad where me and him kind of like fell for the bait, and we kind of like not disliked each other, but we were just like agitated by each other. Because we're friends now, but at that time we didn't know this. So I think one time it had came to a head, and then I had to like have this discussion with my instructor. And I don't remember what the conversation was about, other than it was me and him other than the fact that it was about me and him kind of like bickering. But I don't know what was said, because everything else didn't matter at that point. But all I know is this instructor told me, yeah, because black men are known to hit or abuse their wives and girlfriends. And at that time, let me give you some backstory. Before college, I didn't deal with racism, or I didn't deal with it where I knew that I was dealing with racism. And then it wasn't until college where I dealt with it and I knew exactly what the hell it was. So now we go back to the story. When they had said that, I was in shock, because for one, at that time, they were one of my favorite instructors. And I don't know if they realized what they were saying, or I don't know if they realized what that had meant, but I just know how it made me feel. And I really didn't respond. I just kind of just like nodded my head and shut down. And usually that's what I do when I get like really upset. I shut down. Because I'm kind of like trying to stop myself from responding in a way that I'm not trying to respond. There were times where there was another instructor, and this is another thing, when certain classes where it would be like, where we would talk about filmmakers rather. And then somehow these little like comments are like, oh, and he'd be like, what are you doing here? Why are you, what do you want to do in film? And I would say, I want to be a director. And they were like, oh, the next Spike Lee. I like Spike Lee. I respect Spike Lee, but Spike Lee is not why I want to do film. If anyone that I would want to be compared to, I grew up on Wes Craven. I grew up on Clive Barker. I grew up on Toby Hopper. I grew up on John Carpenter, Tim Burton, David Fincher. Those are the people that I always looked up to, because those were the styles that I always wanted to mimic. But Spike Lee, great filmmaker, but that's not who I wanted to be. Or there'll be times where we're talking about bad movies. Edit that out. I'm not going to bring that in. There'll be times where we're talking about certain filmmakers and the topic of a Tyler Perry comes up. And for whatever reason, people, when he comes up, I'm the only black guy in the room, and they start looking at me like, I don't care. Like, this is not me. Okay, fine. You're talking about Tyler Perry for whatever reason. You can talk about Tyler Perry. This is what film is for, is to be critiqued, is to be talked about, it's to be dissected. That's what it's there for. But anyway, so in this particular class, this instructor thought it was okay to, he was talking about, I guess, like race relations in the industry. Fine, that's cool. That's a important topic. But then it came to a point where he brought up something, and then he said the N word. The N word was being discussed, and he literally said the N word. He said N word, not but he said N word. That's what he said. That was the phrase he used, N word, because he didn't want to say the real thing. But it's in some reason he went back. And I guess he thought about it. He was like, no, I can say this. And then he was saying it in a way, because I guess he felt like he was saying it and he was phrasing someone else. He felt like he can say it. That's not how that works. So he just ended up saying nigger. And then, mind you, the entire class went silent. And they looked at me. And then I'm sitting there like, what am I? I'm just like, really? This is what we're doing? And it was those experiences, like, and then on top of that, dealing with very ignorant people, students, making comments, feeling like, or looking at you and making you feel like you don't belong. Or when you talk about that you're studying film or you're in the film department, they're looking at you like you're kind of crazy. And a lot of that played so much into why I started to lose my passion for film. And I didn't know it at that time. I didn't know that's what was happening. Because a lot of these classes where it came time to actually make short student films, I didn't put in my best work. I didn't. Not all the time. And then I would just do stuff, and I would just like, I know I could have did. I knew in my heart that I could have did something better, and I just didn't care. But I would just put anything out, and then, but even then, and I'm not trying to sound like arrogant or anything, but even then, my worst was no different than some of the people that was getting praised in those classes best. And I'm being honest. But they were getting praised, and and I'm not trying to bash anyone, but it's just what the truth is. And it is part of this cycle where we're in this climate right now, dealing with racism and everything. So once I graduated college, I just was so kind of like lost. I had planned on moving to LA in 2012, and that didn't happen for another, 8 years? 7, 8 years? Because during that time, I was just lost. I didn't care about film. I didn't know why. I don't know why. And it was just crazy because when I was a kid, film was just all I wanted to do. I just wanted to make movies and create stuff. And then I just one day just like lost it. As soon as I graduated, it was just gone. I just didn't care about it. I didn't want to be a part of it, and I didn't know why. And it was hard because my family knew my entire life that's all I wanted to do. And it was hard because they're like, why are you pursuing what your dream was? And I couldn't really give them a clear answer other than the fact that I just wasn't passionate about it no more. I didn't care about it. But even to me, I didn't know why. And if it wasn't for that interview that I did and speaking about it, and that interview was so therapeutic for me, I probably would have never even known why. And that was one of the reasons why. Probably one of the main reasons why. Well, it is one of the main reasons why, but if not the main reason. I don't know. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, you know, people who are pursuing film in general know that this is hard. It is hard to break through in this industry. I still consider myself an amateur. I'm still relearning things, to be honest with you. But people know that it is hard to do this, for one. And then when you're a person of color, when you're Black, there's another layer to it. And I just wanted to talk about this because, like I said, what this channel is for is because to tell my stories, because my stories is my stories is someone else's story. Someone else is going through this. And I just want to tell someone who's out there, just, you know, talking about things, however way you express yourself, can help you discover or find an answer or something, a reasoning or something, a question you've been trying to find an answer to for so long. And it don't even have to be about film or anything. It could be about just anything in life. You know, speaking about things can help. And it helped me because I was just so lost. And to this day, like, I have like the worst anxiety when I'm like on sets, because there was so much that I did learn from Colombia. There was, but then I felt like I didn't retain it. And now, like, even when I go on set sometimes, I get so nervous and like my anxiety get the best of me, where I just like go blank and I just feel like I just lose it. And I just like, what am I supposed to do? And then sometimes I feel like that anxiety kind of triggers my clumsiness. Not all the time, but sometimes. And I just feel like I'm not good enough. And I don't want that for somebody else. And this is not, like I said, I'm not bashing Colombia, but there needs to be an acknowledgement. There needs to be accountability, not for me, but for others that I know who have experienced that, going to that school and many other places. Especially when you spend almost 6 figures on a tuition, and so many of us don't have any work. And that's not to say where you go to college, I guess you know the risk, but one would think when you're spending all that money on the school, there would be some type of like, hey, this person needs, there was none of that. And that's another reason why I get so angry, because I'm still in debt. And then on top of that, I lost my passion. I lost the thing that was like my driving force to make it. And in a way, I guess, speaking this now, I just feel, I guess maybe I am a little angry. I'm a little bitter. And I can admit that. And it's not all Colombia's fault. I just want to make that clear too. It's not all their fault, but it's a part of it. And that's why I wanted to do this video. Yeah. So for anyone who's can relate, please feel free to comment. I'm really just speaking right off of my heart. And because this was something that something that I wanted to do for a while. And yeah. So I think that'll be it, guys. You know what to do: like, comment, subscribe, and until the next video, I'll see you guys. Peace.